And I'm like, oh, man. I said, yeah, baby, my car is getting repossessed. And there was just so much messed up stuff that happened over that 9 months of not working.
I remember that too, bro. It happened to me once. Like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Let me tell you something.
3 o'clock in the morning, bro. I ain't gonna front you. I cried. I went back inside and cried. Like, what the
hell? tell me about
it. Like, I'm a grown man. Like, what's going on? Not
Ba-ba-ba. We're recording once again. Good morning, Ken. How are you?
Good morning, Fenton. How you doing? Doing great. Yourself?
I'm doing amazing. That was my introduction music. We don't have intro music, so that was it. Ba-ba-ba.
Aren't you a producer? Like,
not today. Not today.
I mean, amongst other things you do as well.
Amongst other things. One of these days, we'll hire some guy who wears neon hats to make our music. But until then,
sounds good. I'll do the remix. I'll get Diddy to do the remix.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Products of Circumstance. This is the podcast with Fenton, Joseph, and Ken Skeen. We discuss mental health and mindset matters through the lens of Black men. We cover topics like family and relationship trauma, relationships with money, self-worth, positive thinking, gratefulness, and so much more. The show is unscripted, unfiltered, and mostly unedited, and we choose our topics randomly. Ken's going to tell us what we're going to talk about in just a second. But before he does, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with somebody who's on their personal development journey. You can share by clicking Ken's microphone with your mouse. Or not. All right, man. What are we talking about today?
Today, topic of the day will be weathering the storm. So the storms in your life, right?
That's a good one.
It's a good one. You like that one?
It's very timely.
I just came up with it about 45 seconds ago. It's great.
It's a rainy day. It's a rainy day today.
It is a rainy day today, but I love the rain.
Take us off.
Up the streets.
Take us in.
All right. So yeah, just like weathering the storm. All right. So when it comes to my life, let's say, let's go back to 12 years ago when I was third generation carpenter, youngest project supervisor, working in Manhattan.
No mustache.
$3 million build. Hey, all right. This took 42 years to grow. All right. Let it be. But so 12 years ago, I had to weather a huge storm that I was able to get by, of course. But I had to change industries. So I went from being a project supervisor in construction to doing some odd jobs for about a year, commercial roofing, just regular, just fixer-uppers for people, in their homes.
Short
and whatever brought the cash in real quick. At that point, I had our first child. It was our second. Wow, we had our second child. So we were on our second child by then. And I needed something that was a little more stable because I wasn't home a lot. I was gone most of the week, just doing commercial roofing at that point in Philadelphia. Actually, we'd leave on a Monday, come back on a Friday night. I'm home for Saturday, Sunday, back out again Monday.
It's crazy.
I mean, the money was good though. So, But I went into car sales. People have been watching or you're new to it. I am a sales manager now. So I got into car sales. So I had to go through that storm. I'm going to kind of ad lib this one. I heard someone talking about it the other day online. They're talking about cows and bison. And when a storm comes, cows usually run away from the storm. But eventually the storm does catch up. And now they're in the storm even longer. Because you're at the tip, you want to get through it. While bison or buffalo will actually run into a storm. So they weather it. They go right through the middle, knowing that if they go through the storm, they'll get out faster. So in your life, sometimes instead of running away from what's going on, maybe you just need to just stop for a second and let the storm pass. And that's what I had to do. I had to literally just stop myself and say, look, it's going to be better. I've gotten through worse. I've made it this far. And that wasn't the only one. I mean, there's different ones in my career, in my life, where I have debts in the family, changing careers, changing job positions, friendships, you name it. Everyone goes through different storms, right? Mm-hmm. But it's how you come out of it. What you've learned about yourself is a big one. Hopefully you've learned something about yourself. Hopefully you came out stronger.
Yeah.
I'm now 42 years old. I've weathered some storms, even recently. I had to weather a storm very, very recently. And you got to just reflect. And I know it sounds probably corny or generic, but it's true. If you're not going to reflect on who you've become, what you were able to endure, you know, the hardships, and see that, you know, the sun does come out again and it does shine again, and you will be okay. You've got to be strong to know everything will be okay. Some storms last longer than others, but in the end, you've made it this far. You can go further. Mm-hmm. And again, it just makes you stronger mentally and emotionally. It'll make you a stronger person. But again, don't take that in a generic sense. It's everyone has their own story. And that's mine, you know?
I am trying to think of something funny to say. Here's what I know. Cows are dumb. Cows, that's a bad idea. Run away from the storm. It's probably like raining on them anyway as they're running away from it. And then, yeah, it's just all around bad idea. So I was watching a documentary on animals with my kid, and it was about seals, right? They're in the water, those people. And they had, I think they were in like Namibia, right?
Okay.
On the coast of the continent of Africa. And they were being beaten down by this sandstorm. It was like 4,000 seals on the coast, and a sandstorm rolls in. And what they noted was that they would just lay there. First of all, if you've ever seen a seal, they don't move too quick. Right? Where are they going? They're not going to run away. So they literally just lay all 500 pounds of themselves down. They bury into the sand, and they just lay there and just deal with it. And eventually it's gone. And one of the mothers had just had a newborn, and the newborn was like, dang, this sucks. Like, this is what life is like. It's trying to cover its little eyes. It curls up next to the mother, and it's safe. And then the sun comes out again. So like, this is so stupid. But the reason why I bring it up is because I thought it was a really cute analogy for weathering the storm. That's how I deal with things. I don't believe in, I'm not like saying it's like an analogy to just lay down and just take it, but I am saying that you need to be able to weather the storm, and you got to be prepared, right? Those seals, they know. I'm going to try to get off of this seal analogy because I don't want this to turn into like a Nat Geo kind of thing. But they know that sandstorms come. They're in a place where storms regularly occur. The newborn baby, he had no idea about this stuff. So yeah, it was a shock to him. But everyone around him, they just laid on down and waited for the storm to pass. Why do people who have been alive as long as you and I have, longer than you and I have, freak out like they're newborns? Like a storm has never hit them before, right? Like, you got to prepare yourself mentally. We've all been through things in life, and that's everybody. There isn't a person on this planet that hasn't dealt with something that we would consider a storm. Some people's lives have been a little easier than others, no doubt, but everybody's dealt with the storm, and you have to have that resolve mentally. And I think that's actually the toughest part. We can get into practical things like how to prepare for a storm, things like financials, right? Making sure that you have, your financials in order so that if there's a financial storm, you can weather that. Having credit cards, money in the bank, emergency funds, a support system. Maybe we got to call mom and dad and take a little loan. Those are financial storms. There's health storms. So having health insurance and, again, having a community around you, maybe, like if my wife, God forbid, got sick and somebody had to like watch the baby or something, you know, like we have, she's 4, but we have a community around us. I can take her to her godparents or to her grandparents and say, hey, can you hold down our kid for a while? We have been thoughtful about the storms that do occur in life and how we can weather those storms. I think part of what causes people to freak out, besides having a very short memory when it comes to the storms that they have gotten through in life, we tend to forget about it.
Yes, we do.
As if you weren't strong enough to make it through another one. But that's a different thing. I think people aren't prepared. And that puts them in a defensive position, you know? Yeah, I don't get too freaked out about stuff, bro. I really don't. I've like you, I'm 41. I've been in enough situations in life that practically nothing freaks me out, bro. I really, I am a wartime general. I put my head down and I go into it like a bison. I don't get scared. I don't get frustrated or flustered. I just do what needs to be done to get through the storm. It's like, how are we going to get through the other side? And the thing is, you never know how long a storm is going to last. So what good is it for you to, you know, have anxiety, even to get into a psychological state of like anxiety or fear or anything like that? How long are you going to stay in that place? Because you don't know how long the storm is going to be.
Right.
Right? We live in New York. When Hurricane Sandy, name any hurricane you want, we get hit all the time, right? If you don't know, New York gets hit with hurricanes and tropical storms all the time. At any point throughout the year either. It's not like hurricane season, you know, in the Caribbean or something. Like it'd be January, it'd be July. We're getting storms. How is it that like the same houses get like, you know, pummeled? It's like you didn't think to put the thing on stilts, you know, after the last time. You didn't think to get more flood insurance after the last time. You didn't think to make sure that you had reserves of, you know, whatever it is you may be. I don't know, oil in the oil tank or propane, whatever. Like when you get hit with a storm, you learn, because you might get beat up the first time. But my goodness, man, are you going to learn from it and prepare for the next one?
I remember when we became adults and finally got a generator.
That's what I'm talking about.
What was it? Oh man, there was a big storm, probably like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago. See, with COVID, everything kind of messed up time with COVID. It has been like maybe 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago.
We all had COVID. Storm. We don't remember what year it was.
I don't remember anymore. But yeah, we bought a generator so I could prepare finally, because we'd be out. We had no lights for like 2 weeks, so many different times.
The first time, there's no lights for 2 weeks. That's not on you. The second time, that's on you. And that's how people, you know, really need to think about this stuff. So a little story. I worked in advertising for a while. Advertising is like notoriously volatile in terms of like your employment prospects. Turnover can be really high, churn, whatever, and attrition too. And the first time I got laid off, it was a bit of a shock, because that job came right on time to help pay for my wedding and a new life with my new wife. And that it was a good job. And I also really needed that money because I had gotten laid off previously. So I got the new job, paid for the wedding, life is good. And then I get laid off again, right? It was tough, but it wasn't as bad as the first time I'd gotten laid off before the wedding hit. All right, so let me back up a little bit just to give people context. I was working as a brand manager at a finance startup in Long Island in Woodbury. I proposed to my girlfriend. We got engaged. And shortly thereafter, about 6 months after we got engaged, I got laid off. That was hard. I did not get a full-time job for about 9 months. I worked as a waiter at a wedding catering hall, and I worked as a waiter at a restaurant. So I did both of those jobs. I was making like $8 an hour at the catering hall, working 20 hours a week. And I was making whatever tips I got at the other restaurant, working also like 20 hours. So I was working 40 hours a week, but I wasn't making a lot of money.
Yeah.
I managed to, I didn't manage to do a lot, actually. Like, when I think about it, I made money, but I didn't pay my rent every month. My landlord was like super chill and super kind and like just God sent. And, we were super cool. And so he didn't, fuss. He was like, all right, dude, like, I see you're in like a pickle. I'm 41, so I'd say things like, you're in a pickle.
Matches the hat.
That just happened. He said, I see you're in a pickle and I'm gonna work with you. Give me what you can. And, we'll get this paid off. So that was a blessing. My car got repossessed. I'll never forget that. I was standing in front of the place I was living at, on the phone with my girlfriend, my fiance, and two guys rolled up and they look at my car. So I walk outside and I'm like, hey, like, what's going on? You looking at my car? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, are you such and such? Blah, blah. I said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, we're here to take your car. And I'm like, oh, man. I said, yeah, baby, my car is getting repossessed. And there was just so much messed up stuff that happened over that 9 months of not working.
I remember that too, bro. It happened to me once. Like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Let me tell you something.
3 o'clock in the morning, bro. I ain't gonna front you. I cried. I went back inside and cried. Like, what the
hell? tell me about.
Like, I'm a grown man. Like, what's going on? Nah, I was out of work, and my parents were like kind of helping out a little bit, but they can only help so much. They got their own stuff, My mom was helping out. Yeah. And 3 o'clock in the morning, bro, they came and got the truck. They actually called. I called myself and like, oh, we're outside. Looks like you have a car seat in here. You want to come grab it? I was like, wait, what? Yeah, they took that thing, man. They took it. Guy let me get the car seat, went back in. I cried for like 5 minutes. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What am I crying for? This ain't going to do nothing. Right. And then, I got a little bit of help and got the car out, got it back. I was able to get a job maybe like 2 weeks later. I got a job.
How long did it take to get the car back?
24 hours, man.
Same for me.
24 hours. Not even, bro, 12 hours.
Right.
Car had the car back. It's crazy because you go to the impound lot and you're like, wow, look at all these cars in here. And they all have their stuff. People have their stuff in there. Like, it is come and grab you. It was one of those pickup trucks too. It was a pickup truck that hides like the tow hitch into the back, so you don't know you're being repoed.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of them joints.
Dude, I got the car back the next day. I had to borrow some money.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine lent me the money to get the car out. And another really good friend lent me his car so I could go to work, because I had to go to work that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to get to work. I got the car back the next day. I was able to pay my friend back. And I got to tell you, I wasn't that freaked out when it happened. I think my fiance was probably more freaked out than I was. But I'm like, you got to understand, I've seen some things, in my life. I've had some situations, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, cops involved, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've gotten into some things. So I think let's take this in a different direction. Some people, I think, struggle to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish because little things really throw them off course, little storms. Mm-hmm. People like you and I, we've been in some hairy situations. And so it's like life, it's nothing is really that bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody were to, if something really crazy were to happen today, like, I'm going to take it in stride because I've seen some things that might have broken other people, but I made it through those storms. So, there was this guy I was listening to, I can't remember who he was, but he was like, yo, I lost both my parents when I was like, a teenager. He lost his mother at like 14 and the other one at like 16. And he was like, yo, what else is difficult? What could possibly be difficult for me? I lost my parents. I still made it. You think starting an LLC is hard for me? Like, that's not scary. It's scary for you. It's not scary for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know you have that same mentality. It's like we've seen brokenness and we've seen trauma and we've seen financial hardship and we've seen death. And it's like, y'all scared to get on like a video and post a TikTok, you know what I'm saying? Like to promote your business. Like you're scared to say something to somebody. One thing that'll never scare me is to say something to somebody. Like Fenton is going to say what's on his mind, because like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like I don't ever try to offend anybody ever. But I'm also not going to be afraid to speak up and say what needs to be said. Like I'm that dude, like to my detriment sometimes, but I can't help myself sometimes. And I'm just saying like, what are you scared of? What's the worst thing that can happen? Because I've seen some storms and I tell you, this is nothing.
Most of the time because I'm going back to what you said with, posting something on social media, the worst that happens is that no one follows you, likes you, or responds to it. That's your worst thing.
Right. They wasn't following you anyway. They didn't know who you are anyway. It's like you got to put things in context. Money is something that I never stress about. For a long time, I'm sure, much to the chagrin of my wife. Because I just see it in a different context. I'm like, I've made money, I've lost money, I've had to pay investors back for, stuff. I've been sitting pretty. I grew up in a really nice neighborhood and lived a really good childhood. And then, subsequently ended up living in a place where I had to lock my door with a 35-pound dumbbell and sleep with a hammer and
and a toothpick
and a Tonto, just in case somebody, came inside while I was sleeping. I've been in unsavory conditions. And so, what's the big deal to me? You know what I'm saying? Like nothing is really that scary. I lost my train of thought for a second, but I'll just wrap my end up saying mentally prepare yourself for a storm by looking at the previous storms and understanding what it is that you need to be prepared for so that you don't get knocked off, balance by whatever storm comes next. And it may be more intense. I say this to my wife all the time. I don't know what that thing is that's going to shake me to my core. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that life event is that's going to rock my faith in God. Because even the most devout Christians may experience things that make you question God's existence. And it's like, yo, is this whole thing even real? And I hope I never experience one of those kind of events, but you just never know what's going to happen. The least I can do for me, for my family, is to mentally prepare myself, reflecting, like we talked about in the past episode, being grateful, like you always talk about, and writing things down, what I'm grateful for. Because if I say I'm grateful for my wife, I'm grateful for my child, immediately there's two things that I can look back over storms that we've experienced. My kid's only 4. We've had some storms. My wife, we've been together for 12 years now, 13 years. We've had some storms. And when I say that I'm grateful for my brothers and my mom and dad, we've had storms. And I can look back and reflect over everything that I've made it through. And also look at how I wasn't prepared for certain things. And then move accordingly to put myself in a position to win and weather a storm.
I like that. Well, yeah, you just reminded me I do have to write in my journal today. But you're right. What you were saying with being grateful. If you can remember what you're grateful for, and writing down definitely does help. And you don't have to be a writer. I'm far from a writer. My wife is like a poet. She writes poetry and she's great at it. She can write an essay like no one's tomorrow. But you don't have to be a great writer to write down your emotion. You don't have to be a great writer to express what you're grateful for. One-liners. I do a bunch of one-liners. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for abundance. I'm grateful for friendships. You don't have to be a writer. Write down one-liners like I do, but at least write something down once a day. And no one's telling you to write your life story. Write for 5 minutes. Write for 2 minutes. Who cares? Write 3 sentences. But I feel it does help. It's been helping me a lot. Please do remember when you're going through a storm, because everyone's going through a storm in their life at some point. You can be going through it right now. Like I said, I'm recently, the sun's coming out, the clouds are kind of separating, going through my own discourse. Yeah. But when you're going through it, just remember, you've done it before. I'm talking about the older cats out there, right? And I said older cats. Look at me.
The older cat's in a pickle.
The older cat's the pickle. You've done this. It's just the different. You could call it Sandy or Ryan or whatever names they come up with. Wilma, whatever. It's just a different storm, but you've done it. Remember the scars that have healed, right? And use that to center yourself. Use that to bring you back to reality that it will be okay. It will pass, and the sun will shine again. Again, I'm not trying to be corny or generic here, but it's true. Once that storm passes, you're going to look back and say, oh, wow, I got through that one also. And I'm stronger for it again. And just remember, storms will come again. For all the good, there's bad. For all the bad, there's good. But it makes you appreciate all the good in your life and the good times that you have, and just remember those. So I'm done being corny right now.
No, it's not corny. It's super real. When you look at the Earth, like the Google Earth or whatever, if you think of a satellite image of the Earth and the storms, right? Like the storms are like the Earth is like huge, and the storms are these little things here. There's one over there. There's storms happening all around planet Earth all the time, right? Mm-hmm. But they're moving. They're always moving, and they're moving away. And it's like, I wish people would take that analogy and just think like it's temporary. A very wise man once said to me, everything is temporary if you wait long enough. And I really hope that people take that to heart. It's not staying there. You might be staying where you are. You might be fixed where you are. By the way, sometimes when you're in a storm, you can move. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you can get out of the way of the storm. We talked about the dumb cows that try to run from the storm. I don't know if running from the storm is what I would propose, but like, some storms are micro storms. Not everything is like a 6-month health battle. Some things are stuff that you've caused. You have a bad attitude with somebody, and now you got a problem and you're in a storm. It's like, no, keep your mouth shut. Be nice to people. Those kind of things. But storms move. They pass. The sun does come out. And the last thing I'll say is, I just want to go back again about the journaling. You said, I'm grateful for abundance. I remember when I lacked. I'm grateful for my health because I remember when I was sick. So people, as you go through your journal and you write the things that you're grateful for, look at the inverse and think of a storm, when you were the opposite of that. I'm grateful for, the knowledge that I have, because I remember when I was ignorant, before I started watching Products of Circumstance and got all this wisdom and knowledge. Man, I was just an idiot. Look at me now. I'm motivating other people, which is our hope for sure. That you take this and share it and go motivate somebody else. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Cool. I think we've done our jobs. All right, everyone, please like, subscribe, share with somebody else who's going through a storm. Remind them that the sun truly does come out tomorrow, even when they're in a pickle.
Now I'm just thinking about fried pickles now.
Pickles are amazing. Pause.
I love fried pickles.
Yeah.
Pause.
I'm an old cat. All right, my brother. Peace, everybody.